What if one single word just changed the entire story of Sister Wives Season 20 and nobody saw it coming? This final one-on-one dropped secrets, reopened old wounds, and left more questions than answers. So buckle up, because you are not going to want to miss this. And if you love deep dives that spill the real tea, hit subscribe right now and join the Reality Charm family for non-stop updates and drama breakdowns. Hey guys, welcome back to Reality Charm, and today we are diving deep into the final one-on-one of Sister Wives Season 20, and I need you to stay with me because what looked like a simple sit-down turned into one of the most emotionally layered episodes we have seen in a long time. And it starts with Kody revisiting that park conversation with Mary, the so-called apology that was supposed to bring closure, but instead opened up even more questions. And from the very beginning, you can feel the awkwardness in his tone. He tries to laugh it off by joking about how Mary went from being the favorite ex-wife, laughing in the back of a moving truck, to becoming someone he now struggles to even communicate with. And while he frames it as humor, there is something underneath it that feels unresolved, like there is still hurt sitting just below the surface. He says every phone call with Mary turns tense, that it always spirals into arguments, and that it is exhausting. And you can almost hear the frustration in his voice. But at the same time, you cannot ignore the fact that relationships rarely reach that level of tension overnight. There are layers there. Years of miscommunication, unmet expectations, and probably a lot of unspoken disappointment on both sides. And just when you think the focus will stay on their broken dynamic, he shifts the spotlight to Jen. And that is where things start to feel even heavier, because he makes it clear that he does not trust her influence. He questions her loyalty and suggests that she played a role in encouraging Mary to step away from him. And that is a strong statement, especially considering how much support fans believe Jen has offered Mary over the years. And it makes you wonder whether this is about loyalty or whether it is about control. Because when someone finds their voice after years of silence, it can feel threatening to the people who benefited from that silence. And Mary herself says something that really sticks. She explains that she used to speak up freely in the family, but over time, every time she did, she felt like there were consequences, like she was slowly edged out or emotionally sidelined. And so she started holding back. She started shrinking herself. And that kind of quiet self-protection does not happen without reason. It comes from repeated experiences where being honest feels unsafe. And hearing her say that feels deeply human, because so many people have been in situations where they stopped expressing themselves, not because they had nothing to say, but because they felt unheard or punished for saying it. And then Christine enters the conversation and gently suggests that maybe Kody struggles with strong personalities, and it is not said with anger, but with observation. And that is what makes it powerful, because it opens up a broader discussion about how dynamics shift when individuals grow into their independence. And then we get to Janelle. And this is where the storyline takes another unexpected turn, because she reveals that she has her own doubts about Jen. She recounts a moment from the Vegas years when she believes Jen said that Mary should take the money and leave. And that single sentence, if true, would have been explosive back then, because it implies that someone outside the marriage was encouraging an exit strategy. And Janelle says that hearing that ended their professional relationship and changed how she viewed Jen. But here is where it gets complicated, because Jen denies ever saying it, and suddenly we are watching two women remember the same era in completely different ways. And Mary says she did not even hear about this alleged comment until years later, which adds another layer of confusion, because how do you process something that may or may not have happened a decade ago? And Christine suggests that even if it was said, it might have been in jest, but when trust is fragile, even jokes can land like threats. And what makes this so compelling is not whether the statement was said, but how deeply it impacted perception. Because once doubt enters a relationship, it lingers. It colors every future interaction. And as viewers, we are left piecing together fragments of memory, trying to decide where the truth might sit. And then, just as the conversation feels like it might cool down, it pivots back to the catfishing scandal. And this is the part that feels like reopening an old wound that never fully healed. Mary speaks openly about how dark that period was, how isolated she felt in Las Vegas, how the legal divorce shifted her position in the family, and how the online relationship nearly broke her emotionally. And hearing her describe it now, years later, carries a different tone. It is less defensive and more reflective, like someone who has done the work to understand their pain. But then, Kody reframes it by labeling it an affair, and that word changes everything because it adds a layer of betrayal that feels heavier than how it was previously described. And while he insists everything is forgivable, the emotional charge in his voice suggests that forgiveness may not be as complete as he claims. And that contradiction is what makes this episode so gripping, because you see the tension between wanting to move forward and still feeling stuck in the past. And then Robin becomes central to the narrative, because Christine recalls confiding in her, only to later feel that those private conversations somehow reached Kody, resulting in tension. And Robin maintains that she was never trying to betray anyone, that she believed transparency with her husband was the right thing to do. And this is where intention and impact clash, because even if the intention was not harmful, the impact clearly left others feeling exposed. And Mary shares something that feels unsettling. She says there were moments when she confided in Robin, and later details from those conversations appeared in messages from the catfish. And she also mentions that Robin had a mutual acquaintance who had some contact with the catfish, and that connection alone is enough to raise eyebrows, even if there's no proof of wrongdoing. Because in situations where trust is already shaky, even coincidence can feel suspicious. And yet, despite all of this, there is no dramatic confrontation. There is no explosive reveal. There is just a quiet, lingering uncertainty that hangs over the entire conversation, like a cloud that never fully clears. And perhaps that is what makes it feel so real. Because in real life, not every conflict ends with a clear answer. Sometimes people simply walk away with their own version of the truth. And when we reach the final moments of the episode and see Kody watching a clip of Mary smiling with Ron, the mood shifts again. He does not look furious, he looks contemplative, almost nostalgic. And Mary clarifies they aren't dating, they're just spending time together. But when asked if she and Kody could ever truly be friends, both hesitate. And that hesitation feels honest, because friendship after that much history requires a level of emotional detachment that neither may fully have yet. And Robin makes it clear she does not feel the need to apologize, which closes the door on any expectation of a redemption arc, at least for now. And as viewers, we are left sitting with a mix of empathy, confusion, and curiosity, because this was not a tidy ending. It was a reminder that relationships, especially ones lived publicly for years, rarely fit into simple narratives. And if this is where season 20 leaves us, then the real question is not what happened in the past, but whether any of them are truly ready to let that past stay there. As the episode continues, the emotional weight does not lift. Instead, it settles deeper into every exchange, and what becomes increasingly clear is that this was never just about one apology, one comment, or even one scandal. It is about years of layered hurt that were never fully unpacked. And when people sit down in front of cameras after more than a decade of shared history, the words they choose carry more than surface meaning. They carry regret, pride, defensiveness, longing, and sometimes exhaustion. And you can see that exhaustion in all of them, especially in the quieter pauses when no one is speaking, but everything is being felt. Kody at times appears frustrated, not just with the women, but with the narrative itself, as if he is tired of being painted in a certain light. Yet at the same time, he struggles to acknowledge how his reactions may have shaped that perception. And that tension between self-image and public image feels very real, because anyone who has ever been misunderstood knows how heavy that can feel. But the complexity here is that each person believes they were misunderstood in their own way. Mary believes her loneliness was minimized. Christine believes her concerns were dismissed. Janelle believes loyalty was tested. And Robin believes her intentions were misinterpreted. And when everyone feels misunderstood, resolution becomes almost impossible, because true resolution requires someone to say, "I see your pain and I accept that I contributed to it." And what we witnessed instead were carefully worded defenses, explanations that stopped just short of accountability, and reflections that felt honest but incomplete. And yet, despite all of that, there were moments of softness that should not be overlooked. When Mary spoke about climbing out of her darkest season, there was strength in her voice, not bitterness. And that strength feels earned, because rebuilding self-worth after public embarrassment and private heartbreak is not easy. And perhaps that is why Jen encouraging her to rediscover her voice mattered so much, because it symbolized movement forward, even if others perceived it as outside interference. Growth often looks threatening to those who are comfortable with the old version of you, and that dynamic may have quietly fueled more of this conflict than anyone wants to admit. Then there is the matter of memory, and how differently events are recalled. Janelle stands firm in her recollection of what she heard. Jen denies it with equal certainty, and the truth may never be verified. But what stands out is how deeply that memory shaped Janelle's choices moving forward. Because once you believe someone has suggested dismantling your family structure, even casually, it changes how safe you feel around them. And safety has been a recurring theme throughout this entire series. Emotional safety, trust, safety in being vulnerable without fear of information being used against you. And Christine's story about confiding in Robin only for it to circle back to Kody reinforces that theme. Because even if Robin believed she was simply being transparent with her husband, the outcome left Christine feeling exposed. And that kind of breach, whether intentional or not, leaves scars. And then, when Mary hints that details from her private conversations seem to appear through the catfishing account, the emotional stakes rise again, because coincidence in a fragile environment does not feel neutral. It feels pointed. And even though no direct accusations are made, the implication lingers quietly. And perhaps that is why this finale feels so suspenseful, not because of dramatic confrontations, but because of the unresolved threads woven throughout every conversation, threads that may never be fully untangled. And when Kody labels the catfishing situation as an affair, it reframed the conflict. Narrative in a way that subtly shifts responsibility back onto Miri. And while he insists forgiveness is possible, the choice of language reveals that the wound may have cut deeper than previously acknowledged. And words matter, especially in a family dynamic where roles and identities were already shifting. The legal divorce, the entrance of a new wife, the evolving independence of adult children, all of these changes created emotional instability long before the scandal occurred. And sometimes when a relationship is already strained, an outside event simply exposes cracks that were forming for years. And that perspective does not excuse hurtful actions, but it does contextualize them. And context is something this episode desperately tries to provide without fully committing to a single version of events, which is perhaps the most honest portrayal of all. Because in real life, there are rarely clean narratives. There are overlapping truths shaped by individual experiences. And that is why watching this feels less like observing villains and heroes and more like witnessing people trying to protect their dignity while still processing pain. And in the final moments, when the possibility of friendship between Miri and Kody is mentioned, the hesitation speaks louder than any speech could. Because friendship after love requires detachment, and detachment requires closure, and closure requires mutual understanding, which still feels out of reach. And Robin's unwavering stance that she does not owe anyone an apology may be empowering from her perspective, but for others, it may symbolize a door that remains closed. And so the season ends, not with fireworks, but with quiet, unresolved tension. And perhaps that is the most realistic ending possible, because sometimes the most dramatic moments are not loud. They are subtle shifts in tone, changes in language, and pauses that stretch just a little too long, leaving viewers sitting with questions that will likely carry into whatever comes next. And maybe that is the point. Maybe the story is no longer about preserving a plural marriage, but about individuals redefining themselves outside of it, finding their own voices, rebuilding trust in new ways, and learning how to let go of narratives that no longer serve them. And as we step back from this finale, what lingers is not shock, but reflection, a reminder that relationships are complex, that growth is uncomfortable, and that sometimes the hardest part of moving forward is agreeing on what truly happened in the past. So after all the tears, the tension, and the shocking revelations, one thing is clear: this story is far from over, and the real fallout may just be getting started. If you want every twist, every update, and every hidden detail broken down the second it drops, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because here on Reality Charm, we do not miss a thing.